I'll tell you, it's been a series of failures for me. Like
Hmm.
one failure after another, and each failure gets bigger and bigger. When you have entrepreneurship, you fail 4 or 5 times, but that one win
Right.
makes up for everything, right? You don't need to win every. You just need one home run. In
Yep.
entrepreneurship, you just need one home run. And so I've had a couple of them that have made me several $1 million, and that has more than been enough to wash out the failures that I've had.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the None of Your Business podcast, where we are constantly striving to help service providers fall in love with the idea of being an entrepreneur. Ultimately, we want to help you to reach more people, make a bigger impact, and then ultimately to create the lifestyle of your dreams. My name is Dr. Sean Dill. I'm joined today by Dr. Lacey Book. And of course, today we have a super special guest, someone that we have come to know over the course of the past, a couple of months?
Yeah.
And he is just an amazing guy. We were connected to him through a mutual acquaintance. And so it was just almost a random connection that happened. And then from there, just getting to know him and his heart. He has a giant heart for helping people. But not only that, like, he's incredibly smart and he's incredibly successful. He's done tons of work for our members in the Black Diamond Club. He's so giving. He's done multiple trainings and he's up to really huge things. And so he's joining us today from Las Vegas. Please welcome in Dennis Yu.
Thank you, Sean and Lacey. Greetings from Vegas here. From Cocoon.
We're super excited to have you. And yeah, and I want to come back to Cocoon in a little bit. But for anybody who has been living under a rock, I remember the first time when you came into Black Diamond Club. Actually, that day, who was on? Was it Eric Thomas?
Could have been Eric Thomas, or maybe it was even Jordan Belfort.
No, I think it was Eric Thomas. I think Eric Thomas came on in the morning. And so that day, Eric Thomas was in the morning, and then you came into the group in the evening, and we kept telling everybody, do not sleep on Dennis Yu. Do not, you're underestimated, because everybody was so hyped because they wanted to hear ET do his preaching and inspire and rally everybody. And we kept telling everybody, you're falling asleep on Dennis Yu. And then you came on. And the place was going crazy. No, everybody honestly said they loved you so much.
Dennis, you are our most requested encore. Like, the whole group always says, more Dennis, more.
Then he did a second encore.
Yeah.
Let me tell you real quick, Dennis. There's an interesting story that I think you'll get a kick out of. Prince, in his next to last concert ever, played in a tiny theater. Not tiny, but it's probably 1,000 people, people theater in Oakland, California. And Lacey and I were there with our good friend Jack Borla and his wife Erin. And it was called Prince and a Piano. And all it was Prince on stage and a piano.
It's amazing.
And
unbelievable.
Obviously, Prince is known for playing the guitar. And they asked Prince, why are you doing this? He said, because I've never had a bad review before. So I'm going to try this and just see. But he played, and it was so incredible. And then it ended, and then there was an encore.
Right.
And then he came out and he played again, and then it ended, and there was an encore. And then it ended, and then he played Purple Rain. So we were like, well, Purple Rain, right? That's it. That's it.
End,
so
right?
So we got up out of our seats and we're walking out, and he came back again. Like, that's Dennis Yu. Like, the people so demanded more Prince. The people always demand more Dennis Yu.
Dennis Yu. Welcome, Dennis.
Welcome. I'll be the artist formerly known as Dennis Yu.
I love it.
So, Dennis, tell us a little bit, for anybody who's been under a rock. Give us the Cliff Notes version of who is Dennis Yu.
I'm a search engine engineer, and I'm an Asian guy, data science, math. I spoke English starting at almost 7, and I've wandered to the marketing space largely through learning how search engines work. And when this Facebook thing happened, I happened to be in the right place at the right time, and I made a few $1 million running Facebook ads. So if you remember a lot of the things back in like 2007, like who has a crush on you, and um, who's looking at your profile, things like that. A lot of that was from. Did I lose you guys?
No, we're here.
You guys there?
We're
Oh,
here.
you guys blacked out for a second. All right, then.
We're here.
I thought I was like maybe being bleeped out for saying something bad.
It was who's got a crush on you.
But we built the ad serving for that to happen, which to serve ads, if you remember, that would have your picture in them and your name in them. This would say one of these three people looked at your profile, right? Do you remember those ads? That was served through our ad server, and Facebook used that to build a lot of the personalized ads that would have personalized items in them, which had really high click-through rates, 15, 20%. Then Cambridge Analytica sorts of things happened, and that got pulled away. But it was neat being kind of on the ground floor of how personalized advertising was made at scale using social data. And so that gave me the idea, well, if Facebook doesn't allow that anymore, can we build our own? And since then, we've been doing that, teaching people how to take their customers' data and be able to create personalized greetings and use it as part of email, use it as part of their Facebook ads, use it as part of Instagram and LinkedIn, and everything you do to maximize the goodness of the relationships that you have. And ever since in the last couple of years, we've had tens of thousands of people come through our training. And since the pandemic started, we just went ahead and gave away our training for free. This is stuff that we've made millions of dollars doing as an agency and selling courses. You can't sell courses unless you're doing it too. Otherwise, That's fake. Then you're like, teaching people coaching people on how to coach on how to sell coaches on coaching.
Right.
Well,
I want to say first though, like from the bottom of our hearts, you came in and you just gave away so many things during a time when, businesses were in crisis. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to navigate this. And you've helped so many of our members grow and us too. I mean, just grow through this time and feel more stable in the things that they were doing. And so we can't thank you enough for doing that, for giving away it all. We appreciate that. And I don't think that we can repay you for all the people that you've helped that are very close to us. So I just want to say thanks again.
Well, I want to come to that because that's a huge piece of who Dennis Yu is today. Yeah. But what do you mean you were in the right place at the right time? Were you were in the dorm room with Zuckerberg, or like what? How were you in the right place at the right time?
Secret roommate?
I was several things happened. It's kind of like one of those butterfly effect things. So let me step back a couple decades from that moment, and you'll see where things formed. So I was abused as a child. I didn't speak English. I was bullied. I was put in the retarded kids class because I didn't speak English, so they thought I was retarded. I was literally with the other kids that were disabled and short bus kind of stuff. I was made fun of, and I never really thought I would be much of anything, but I found I was good at math, and then I started reading the dictionary. And I did so much reading of the dictionary at the public library and other books that I eventually represented California in the National Spelling Bee in Washington, D.C. in 1988.
Wow.
And
awesome.
I was number 5 in the nation in math counts, which is a math competition.
Jeez.
I started traveling around for math competitions. And I realized that there's a rule to any, there's a set of rules to any game. Right. Whether the game is Monopoly or search engine ads or selling door to door or spelling bee competitions, if you understand the rules of these games, you can hate on people all day long. You can hate on whatever it is, but if you understand the rules, you can win.
Yeah.
And when the internet started to open up back in 2000, I was in the right place at the right time because I was making websites. No one else really thought. Actually, it's even earlier than that. Like I was making websites back in like 1990, which is 30 years ago.
Wow.
And because of now, here's the moment that you would like. Everyone has a moment like this in their lives that makes or breaks them, but they don't realize it till maybe 20 years later.
Yeah.
And that was this. I dropped out of high school because I wanted to be an entrepreneur because I thought I knew everything and, whatever. I thought college was dumb. And that didn't really work out for me. But I had a counselor who cared about me, Elizabeth, and she went to Southern Methodist University before she went to Choate Rosemary Hall, which is where I went to the boarding school. And she said, you ought to consider going to college. And I can get you probably, your grades and all this kind of stuff are so good. I can get you a half scholarship probably right off the bat. Would you like that? I'm like, yeah, why not? I've never been to Dallas. I mean, I've been on the West Coast and the East Coast. And then when I went there, they liked me so much, they invited me to apply for a full scholarship, which you have to be invited for. And then
Wow.
here's the thing. This is the one question that you would never imagine that changed the course of my life that almost nobody knows. And that is when they asked me, when I went to campus to interview for the scholarships, they said, would you like to stay in the dormitories and hang out with the other kids and kind of see what campus life is like? Or would you like us to put you up in the really nice Crown Plaza hotel with everything, room service and all that? And what do you think I chose, and what would you have chosen?
Well, I would have chose the Crown Plaza.
I probably actually would have chose the
Yes,
dorms
you
to
probably would have
see
chose
if
the dorms.
I fit in and like the campus life.
So I really was going to choose the fancy hotel like Sean, because I'm like, wow, like how often as a kid do you get to stay in a nice hotel and you can
Right.
just order up anything you want, room service, without having to pay for it, because you know they charge you a lot for room service.
Oh yeah.
Right. But instead I thought, and I know the dormitories are probably like crappy, right? I mean, I know nowadays like dormitories are fancy because the standards are higher, but back then the standards
Kind
in
of
dormitories
fancy.
were like, it's sort of
Yeah.
like summer camp, okay? That's how dormitories were like 30 years ago. So I decided I'd stay in the dormitories. And I happened to stay with two president scholars, and one of them, his name was Bubba. His real name is William McKinney. That's how I remember him. And we stayed out, they took me out, and we had a little bit of drinks and we ate, and we were out till like 2 or 3 telling stories. And then I had an interview the next morning at 8 a.m.
Oh my goodness.
I woke up at 7:55 a.m. because I missed the alarm. And the place I was going to interview at was a 10-minute walk across campus. I didn't have time to shower or put on nice clothes or like do my hair or anything like that. So I just I got there late. I think I was 7 or 8 minutes late. I walked into a room that had stone cold silence. And they were all like, you ever been in a situation where you're being interviewed by, and on the other side of this big desk, there's like 8 people, this big conference room table, right? And I walk in there, I'm thinking like, well, at least I got the half scholarship.
Still winning.
all of them were there. They had, my resume, they had my application, they had all this kind of stuff, all these professors from these different areas in the, and I'm like, oh. So I thought, it doesn't hurt. I mean, it's, like when you get wet in the rain, and at a certain point you're like, because initially you're trying to like not get wet, and then there's a
Yeah.
certain point you're so wet, you're like, screw it, and you actually go for the puddles, right?
Yeah.
You step in the puddles. Like that's where I was. I'm like, you know what? I got nothing to lose, right? So I sit down and they start asking me questions off of my resume. So first question, and remember, I'm trying, this pressure. Imagine you're like, 19 or 20,
Mhm.
and they say, so, there's all kinds of fighting going on in Kosovo. And what would you do, if you're the world leader, or, if you wanted to resolve the situation in Kosovo? And I said, I don't even know where Kosovo is. Like, what the heck is going on in Kosovo? I don't know. Do you know? Isn't there like some ethnic fighting going on in Kosovo?
Transparency. You were honest.
I don't know. I could like make something up. I can spell Kosovo. How about that? And then another professor, and that's a professor of history or politics, that's asking me that question. So there's no way I'm going to be able to BS that guy, right?
Right.
He's like an old professor. You can tell, like he's ready to like argue with me. I'm like, I lose. I get
Yeah.
my uncle, right? Then the next professor is a literature professor, and he says, so I noticed on your resume that you really like science fiction, and you said that you like Isaac Asimov. And let me ask you about this one particular Isaac Asimov book, and what do you think? And I'm thinking like, oh, I've not read that book for like 6 or 7 years. I don't remember exactly what happened. And I just really like Isaac Asimov because they made his stuff in the movies. It was really good. It was horrible, right? And this went on for what felt like forever, but it was probably 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And all the other professors, they had like 7 or 8 other professors. And I'm sure they were just ready to have their turn and just like eat. Plus, they already knew I was late,
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
sure it's like, that's really disrespectful to have all these professors waiting, right? And then I looked in the corner of the room, and there was Bubba, who was the dorm mate that I stayed with. And he said, I'd like to ask the candidate a question if I could. And he did. And he said, tell me about a time when you had to overcome a difficult circumstance. And he knew what questions to ask, because I told him that one time, when I was abused by my mom, I was going to go run this 5K, but long story short, she wouldn't take me there. She confiscated my bike, so I ran 25 miles to get to the Long Beach Marathon, and I ran the Long Beach Marathon. So I
Wow.
ran a double marathon in 6 hours at the age of 15 in
Wow.
100-degree heat.
Yeah.
And they pulled me to the medical tent at the end, wrapped me in this stuff, and they were injecting me with fluids and all that kind of stuff. And I called up my mom and I said, "Are you going to give me a ride now, or do I need to run back?"
Jeez.
And
Yeah.
I've told other stories of determination where I have, everyone's like, if you look for it, everyone's got some kind of incredible skill. And
Yeah.
my skill is I can endure an incredible amount of pain for a long time. And I've used that to my advantage, such as, in building digital marketing systems. And so this guy, Bubba, asked me a series of other questions that would elicit stories that he knew were there that had nothing to do with Kosovo or
Right.
Isaac
Right.
Asimov.
Yes.
And the interview ended up, it turned around and it went so well that we went 15 minutes past our time. And I saw that there was some girl who was waiting outside the room when it was her turn. And I was eating into her time because we were having such a good time talking
Wow.
about these different stories. So I got the full scholarship.
Woohoo.
And and now here's where the butterfly beats its wings. Because I got the full scholarship into SMU, that's how I got Al Casey as my mentor. And he was the CEO of American Airlines. That's how I
Wow.
got into American Airlines, because I got into American Airlines early and built the website and set up some frequent flyer program stuff and, took the thing to $2 million a day in sales from nothing. That's how I got into Yahoo and built the analytics system there back in 2000. And because I had big experience on big data, I'm a big data person. I'm a big data person.
Yeah.
I used to be a big data person. Now I'm a big data person. And I learned how to work with databases as a search engine engineer. That put me in a perfect position to be able to work on social media data, which is the next level of massive databases and graph search and those kinds of queries that are based on, lookalikes and Booleans and all kinds of ways of figuring out what people want and what they want to do, right? And that's where we are today. But it goes back to that one decision. Do you want to stay in the dormitories,
Right.
or do you want to stay at the Crown Plaza? And if
Wow.
I stayed at the Crown Plaza, none of those things would have happened.
Yeah.
Because
Wow.
if I didn't have Bubba there, I would have bombed that interview. And if
Yeah.
I didn't get to go to SMU, I wouldn't have gotten this incredible mentor who was the CEO of American Airlines, which then I wouldn't have had the experience to unlock my math skills.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe I'd be at CVS, asking
Yeah.
paper or plastic. I don't know, right?
It's really interesting because as you tell your story, it, for me at least, gives me a lot of insight on, your deep passion to really help the younger generation have major opportunity with the things that you're teaching them. Through your company Blitz Metrics, I know that you are teaching individuals to kind of become and take ownership of being their own social media agency, and you're giving the
Yeah.
tools and the means to do that, and then the opportunity for them to grow and have, business. And like I'm looking at you now and saying, wow, I can see too where a lot of that came from, what you experienced in your childhood, and also that butterfly effect. Those wings were flat, but look how many other people's lives have been changed. All these people that you're helping now. How amazing.
It was incredible. Everything I've gotten has been because someone has done something for me.
Wow.
And you look behind any superhero and you see their support. You look at a Batman or a Superman, and behind is the crazy professor, behind is the infrastructure, behind are all these other people that don't seem to get credit nowadays because people want to worship the hero.
Right.
And I think that's really sad, because not to say I'm a superhero, but any success I've had has been because someone else has opened the door for me. Obviously, I still worked really hard. I didn't just like sit there, but
Right.
but there are a lot of people who are smarter than me. There's a lot of people who are more talented. A lot of people who will work harder, who are just like more charismatic, who are better at selling, who are better looking, like whatever. And I just happened to be in the right place at the right time because there were people that believed in me before I was anybody. And I
Yeah.
think all of us need to find those people, because when you do, so if we step back again, I was a total loser, and it still kind of affects me today because I wanted to play sports, and because I didn't have any skill, I wasn't fast or strong. I couldn't play football or basketball. So I did cross country. Cross country is where all the non-athletic people go. Right? And then the people that really suck, they run longer distances like 10K and marathon, right? The marathon people have like the least athletic skill of anybody. So that's where I was.
So you did it twice.
But, yeah, that just shows you like where I am athletically. And so I taught a lot of other people the mindset on how they can PR in the mile, like how to break a 5-minute mile. So my coach, Joe Kelly, at Palos Verdes High School, when I was a Sea King at the age of 14, I broke a 5-minute mile, and he would say, see, if Dennis, that little guy with stubby legs that's only 5 feet tall, can run a sub-5 mile, you can too, right? And then I would teach other people about their physiology, and I would give them confidence, and I would do things like the top guy on the JV team. So I made varsity freshman year, which was tough because we were one of the top teams in the nation. And one of the kids who was number one in junior varsity, his name was David Schultz. And he was gifted, but he didn't, you ever have a friend who's like gifted, but they just don't realize it, and they sabotage themselves because of their own way they think about things. And so he really wanted to be varsity, but because it was like mental sabotage, this limiting self-belief or whatever, he was always just 15 seconds short of being able to make the varsity cut.
Wow.
And I was number 3 on varsity. So I said, David, come over here. Psst, I got a secret for you. Do you want to be on varsity? Here's what we're going to do, okay? I'm going to let you in on the secret on what all of us on varsity do that no one else knows how to do. You want to know what that is? Okay, so this is what we're going to do. Now, we have a meet coming up on Saturday. It's an invitational with like 12 other teams. You're going to run this JV race, and you're going to run this race exactly the way I'm going to tell you to in terms of the pacing on a 3-mile race. You're going to train exactly the way, and even if you're feeling good, you're not going to go faster. Even if you're going too slow, you're going to run exactly the way that I'm telling you how to run this race. And that's this. I want you, in the beginning, don't go out in the pack of the first 5 or 10 people. Those guys are rabbits, and they're going to burn out. Because these are kids who just like get excited, and they run out to the front, and they burn out. It's 3 miles. Instead, what you're going to do is stay in about position 10 through the first mile. Then you're going to hold on to whoever that person is, and then with a mile to go, you're going to start to feel this extra energy. Normally at 2 miles, people are tired and they're trying to reel in that last mile, and they give you the splits. So if you're JV, you're probably running 5:45, 5:45, 6 minutes, or maybe like 5:30, 5:30, 6 minutes, right? Because that last mile tends to kind of get you, right? So I said, David, instead, this is what you're going to do, because I've seen your paces. I've seen your last 10 races and how your performance has been. You've been, 5:45, 45, 6:15. So I know you have it in you to be able to make the varsity cut. So this time, that last mile, you're going to feel such a surge of energy that you've never felt before, and you're going to run that last mile in under 5:30. But you're going to do it the way that I'm telling you to, okay? Now what you're going to do is, and then we go through the whole tapering 3 days before, and he's following everything, exactly how to warm up, exactly how to stretch. And then 30 minutes before, I go to him, and I say, okay, David, here it is. I'm going to give you this pill. You're going to take this pill right now, swallow it, take three sips of water, and you're going to follow this pacing strategy. And at 2 miles, you're going to feel that surge of energy, and you're going to move up to the front, take the number 1 position, and you're going to be in first position with 800 meters to go, and you're going to run all the way through. And you're going to never have felt stronger in your life. You're going to feel that energy come. Okay, you ready? You excited? And he's trusted me.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened with visualization. Split by split. And he came back and said, I won the race, I won the JV, I won the whole race with 12 other teams, and I made the varsity cut. I even beat the other people who were previously on varsity, Oh, what did we do? And I didn't want to break it to him. The pill I gave him was just a caffeine tablet.
Dennis, we need to create the entrepreneurial pill because entrepreneurs need that in that last mile too,
But it goes back to mindset. It's the coaching. But really the difference is the coaching. It wasn't the pill, okay?
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
I did give him solid coaching on what to do.
You did, yes. And visualization, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So you had job at American, job at Yahoo, and then did you work at Facebook? No,
but I consulted for Facebook enough that a lot of my friends were saying, dude, you should be charging for all the you're there so much. You eat more food than the Facebook employees eat. You have to do.
So what's tell us about the jump, the trigger where you fully go full entrepreneur, because you had said that was kind of what you had always wanted to do, like even in
Yeah.
high school.
Yeah.
But then you go through college and then you have a job, like a real
Yeah.
job, and then all of a sudden you become Dennis Yu. What was that jump like?
I don't know if there was an all of a sudden, like, success. It never quite. I mean, everyone tries to pinpoint a particular moment, but I'll tell you, it's been a series of failures for me. Like
Hmm.
one failure after another, and each failure gets bigger and bigger. And I've been an entrepreneur, meaning I've been able to spend other people's money and as an employee and maybe get a cut of it. And at American Airlines,
Hmm.
I had a $50 million budget. I spent lots of money. I even did things like I bought software that was unnecessary because I thought it was cool. And one piece of software was it was a content management system. This is before WordPress or these other kinds of tools. And I spent $1 million on it, and we never used it. And it was all on me.
Yeah.
And the CMO said, Dennis, dude, this was your deal. You pushed it through. You were making the whole business case, and we didn't even use it, and all this. And yeah, that's true. Yeah, I had a lot of these failures like that. But as an entrepreneur, you learn from someone else's on someone else's money, and hopefully you do enough good that when you have entrepreneurship, you fail 4 or 5 times, but that one win
Right.
makes up for everything, right? You don't need to win every. You just need one home run. In
Yeah.
entrepreneurship, you just need one home run. And so I've had a couple of them that have made me several $1 million, and that has more than been enough to wash out the failures that I've had. Like with this Facebook thing back in 2007, I was making $85,000 a day off of the ads that I was running because I had the top network of all the app developers that were running my ad code. This is before there was the Facebook ad system. And of course, I blew that by doing dumb things like buying people cars and flying them first class to conferences and, buying bottles at the club. And because that's what everyone else is doing. So I thought I would do that too, to show that I made it. I was on private jets and chartered boats and I did all kinds of stuff like stupid sort of lived in a mansion. I did all that kind of stuff. But you learn. So where was I going with this? I was going to make a point.
You break into your own agency and
Oh, yeah. That's it. So it wasn't until I realized that, and this is going to be obvious for you, and anyone listening here, it's probably obvious to you, but it wasn't obvious to me, and that is the amount of money that you make as an entrepreneur, if it's legit, is directly proportionate to the amount of value that you create for other people.
Right.
So when you start to think of what is it so if I, like, for example, if I'm good at optimizing ads, or if I'm good at adjusting backs, or if if I do that for one person, that's worth this much. But if I can do it for 100 people, then what's my value? Or if I build a product and it saves 10 lives, what if I can save 1,000 lives? So how do I create more value for each person times more people? And my buddy Naveen Jain, who's a billionaire, he told me the same thing. He said, if you want to be a billionaire, solve $100 billion problem. So I thought, what problem do I know how to solve? What experience do I have that legitimately qualifies me to not be a hypocrite, to teach, to help other people? And that is, I know how to train people to become competent digital marketers.
Yep.
So how do I scale that? Well, I've done a lot of coaching for the last 30 years. I've taught people how to do calculus. I've taught people how to optimize databases and pull search engine logs, and how to build reports and run Google ads and Facebook ads and whatever. But if I want to make a bigger impact, I need to do it at scale. So I need to create training systems. So I've inadvertently been creating training systems this whole time because I've been a teacher, but not a teacher in the traditional sense, like public school system teacher. I've been, at Yahoo, for example, I hired people and I trained them on the job. So it's an apprenticeship model where they're coming in at maybe a lower pay, but they're getting opportunity to be able to build their businesses. And it's worked for some reason, especially with this pandemic in the last 3 months. The timing has been such that we've had thousands of people come in who otherwise didn't really care about trying to increase their education. Maybe they're at home and they're tired of watching Netflix or something, and they've wanted to learn digital marketing now, or they couldn't work because they're a personal trainer and the whole thing was closed. But now they want to learn some digital marketing and sell some courses online about how to do workouts or nutrition or like whatever it is that they want to teach. And we've just happened to be in the right place at the right time. because we know a lot of the other people who also teach how do you write your first book and get it published?
Hmm.
How do you speak on stage? How do you do a Zoom webinar to be able to drive engagement? How do you build a website? How do you do like I'm lucky because in the last 30 years, I happen to build a network of people who know how to do that, how to build your personal brand, right?
Yep.
That's where people like Connor come in, right? Our good friend Connor. And it's like, cool. I just think that, whatever you believe in, whether you're a Christian or a Buddhist, or like, I think we can all agree, like the universe will bring you the people you need into your life if you're open to it.
Mm-hmm.
And thus, if I had known that just a couple of years ago, there's so much pain I could have solved. And Sean, to your question, once I realized that as an entrepreneur, if I'm always trying to create bigger value for other people, and I surround myself with the right people, then it will come back to me. I just don't know exactly how, and it always has. And every time in my life that I've been willing to let go and allow the goodness to come back, because I'm like, oh, I have this money. Do I really want to? I could keep it for myself and be greedy, or I could just try to help out these other people, and it might not do anything for me, and who knows. But every time I've let go of that fear, it's come back at me incredibly, like 10x. It's come back at me, and I don't understand why. I just know it does.
Mm-hmm.
Was that
Maybe
because
it's a mindset thing, or maybe it's Grant Cardone talking about 10x. I don't know, right?
but was that part of, so you were also, though, you said when you had all this money, then you were buying people first class flights, sending them to conferences, buying the bottles. Is that what you're talking about? Or you were talking
No. I'm talking about investing, not just blowing money. So blowing money is called conspicuous consumption. It's showing off.
Right.
We all have friends that show off. In fact, they show off bigger than their lifestyle can actually afford.
Well,
that's what I was doing.
Well, yeah. How did you make that jump? How did you transition from you were doing that, and now, when you meet Dennis Yu, you are super humble. You're not doing that. Now, if you've done your homework, you know that you could do that, but you're not doing that. How did you make that transition?
Well, I would love to give you some amazing insight about what an amazing human being I was. But what happened was I ended up spending all the money and being an idiot. And then but in the process of spending the money, I did learn something. And that is this, like, have you ever been in a situation where you're trying to satisfy every need? Like, you've bought already you've bought all the cars, you've already like checked all the boxes, and you sort of run out of things to buy.
Right.
And like, I'd literally be flipping through catalogs. Do you remember like Sears had a catalog? I'd flip through that thing and be like, I already have bought everything that I want. Like, I go to Costco or Walmart and I look and I've already bought everything I want. There's nothing that would impress me. And you know what? I still feel good inside, like when one of our people is able to buy their first house, or they're able to buy that car that they've always wanted, or they've able to get, that pair of Air Jordans, or, these kids, like, that's like one of the things, like, in their mind, like if they get that pair of Air Jordans, like, and that's great, they go on vacation, they take their family to this one place they've always wanted to go, and that's great, right? I don't hate on that. But I feel sad inside for me because, like, I've already traveled 5 million miles. I've already been on private jets. I've done all the things. Like, none of that stuff impresses me. So the only thing that I can get a stimulus out of is seeing other people win. So I'm like that soccer mom where I'm trying to get my kids to win. I'm like living vicariously through them,
Love it.
And so that
Right.
gives me more, that I get more pleasure out of seeing other people win, because if you add another $1 million to my bank account, it doesn't change anything for me because there's nothing for me to buy.
Right.
What am I going to buy? And I'm not saying it's like, oh, Dennis has already achieved everything. And like, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this. And it doesn't mean like I'm some sort of like nun, or, I like hate money, or like, no, it's not. I mean, I love to eat a good steak. I still do things like that, but it doesn't mean much to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Scarface, right? When he had that scene and he's like, is this all there is? Like, this is it? Like, he had all the money, and he was like, and he had the drugs and he had the women, and he was like, this is it? Like, is that all that life is? And then you have to find that next thing. So you love watching people win. COVID happens, and all of a sudden you go straight benevolent Dennis Yu. you helped so many people by just disrupting the game, and all of a sudden you're giving basically
Everything
all of your
almost.
content for free. Tell us about.
Yeah. Well, when you have this mindset of there's more than enough as opposed to the scarcity mindset, right? The abundance mindset is, okay, so if I put my knowledge out there and I put the courses out there and more people go through the courses, does that cost me anything? No. And people who wouldn't have bought the courses because they couldn't have afforded it, that wouldn't have been income for me anyway. And
Hmm.
besides, when they go through the courses and they are able to implement these things and it helps them grow their business, guess what? Their business becomes healthier, and then they're going to come back and they're going to say, wow, now my business is better off because I'm using the dollar a day strategy. I'm doing 1 minute videos. I'm doing these certain things with my Google My Business, like showing that I'm open and posting stories. And now my business is healthier. I can afford to hire my own virtual assistant. I can afford to engage you on some of these little packages for a couple $100s that your young adults have gotten certified in. Now I can start. And we have a lot of businesses that have come back 3, 4, 5 years later, even, and they said, I wasn't ready then, but now I feel like I owe you money because I've been using your
Wow,
stuff, and now we're ready to hire you guys. Like, okay, that is awesome,
that's
right?
great.
And so
Mhm.
we're creating jobs for all the people that are coming through and getting certified. So imagine like if you're a flight school and you certified airline pilots. Well, if you don't have the connections with the airlines, then what good is it for all the pilots coming in? You need to have both sides, right? And if you are a medical school and you're teaching doctors, you have to have a hospital too, because when they get their MD, And so I
That's
look at marketers. If you are teaching people marketing, you need to also give them the patience too, the marketing patience. And so we have both sides because we have tens of thousands of businesses that are going through our training because we've given away our stuff. Like, this is how we do. This is literally the stuff we use to train our people. Go through it. A lot of folks, they go through it. They can implement it themselves because we're not like holding back. We're not like, oh, we're only going to give you a little part, and then the rest you have to pay $797. Like, no, like, here it is. But what will happen, as you guys know, is at some point they'll get stuck and be like, you know what? I really don't want to mess around with this Google Tag Manager pixel and setting up remarketing and editing my own videos. Can I just pay? Because they think that agencies, I've been ripped off by all these agencies. Like, we hear that all the time. And wait, so these guys will do this thing for like $200 or $300? Yeah. And what are they going to do? Exactly this checklist, but nothing else. Only this. Oh, can we consult too? No. Can they also do this other stuff? No. When you go to Chick-fil-A, you have a chicken sandwich, right? You don't get spaghetti. There's no spaghetti at Chick-fil-A, right?
But I got to validate that because that's exactly how that went. Is you came in and you taught a bunch of strategies into our group. You gave away everything, and I remember after the first meeting with you, walking away and telling Sean that was the best and most simplistic explanation I have ever heard about Facebook ad strategies, and it made so much sense. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I could implement it, and a lot of our businesses and our coaching clients could implement it, but that's exactly what happened. Then they realized, I don't really want to do this. And why would I not pay somebody that knows it so well
Yeah.
$200 to manage it and another 200 to edit my videos? And that is exactly how that went.
Yeah.
And number one, I mean, the price point is more than fair for what the businesses are getting.
Yeah.
It's invaluable. And I know that the people that you're training are getting opportunity, but really it's helping people everywhere grow their businesses and
Yeah.
have more opportunity. I mean, it's just amazing.
And you're doing a good thing because look, a
Yeah.
lot of these kids, they were making what, like $9 an hour, $10 an hour working at Chili's or these other places, and things are only partially open, so a lot of them, they need money and jobs. And
Yeah.
the campuses, university campuses, are only partially opening, so some of these kids aren't going back to school, so they need something. And even if this COVID thing didn't happen, and they were making $10 an hour, like I spoke at the Oklahoma Christian University right before the pandemic started, in an auditorium full of these students and professors. And I said, man, I'm so honored that all you guys are here for our session of all the things you could be doing. You chose to come hang out with me. But let me ask you, why are you here? What's your goal?
Yeah.
Raise your hand if you're out there looking for a job. You're a senior and you're looking for a job. A bunch of hands went up. Okay, good, because we said we're going to teach you how to find a job. I'm going to deliver upon that. Now, of those of you guys who are looking for a job, how much money do you think the average grad from Oklahoma Christian University makes when they come out? About $34,000 a year. So how much money do you want to make? You want to make about $34,000 a year. That's $17 an hour. That's $3,000 a month. So you want to make $3,000 a month, huh? Now, if you work at Chili's, how much do you make money? Hey, you over there, how much money do you make? $9.35. Okay, you that raised your hand, how much money do you make? $7.23 at the bookstore or whatever. How much money do you make? $12 plus tips. Okay, good. You make $12. How much money is that per year? Rule of 2,000. 12 times 2 is 24,000. You're making 24,000 a year, right? So what if I told you that you could learn how to do things like digital plumbing, and you sell it at, say, $200, and it takes you 10 hours to do it? How much are you making per hour? $20 an hour. That's almost double what you said you were making. You, how much money did you say you were making? 12? Okay, so you're making a little bit more. But let's say, initially you start, and it takes you, because you didn't know how to do it, you have to read all the stuff. Maybe it takes you 20 hours to do the first one, because, you don't really know what you're doing, and you have to read stuff. But then as you get good, once you've done it 10 times, now you're able to do it in 5 hours. Now you're making $40 an hour, okay? $40 an hour is pretty good. Now, how many hours do you need to work at $10 an hour to make $40? How many pizzas do you have to deliver?
Right.
How many paper or plastic customers do you need to serve? How many shelves do you need to stock at $40 an hour? Like $40. Like, raise your hand if you'd be okay with a job that paid you $40 an hour. All the hands went up. Okay, now let's use our rule of 2,000. Now, if you make $40 an hour, 40 hours a week, times 50 weeks, how much money is that? $80,000. Which you guys would love to come out and make $80,000 if you went through this training. And I'm looking at all you guys over there, and I'm pointing at the people in the professors that are with me on stage. So we have the dean of the business school. I have the president of the university. Now it's not a huge university, but it's still a big university, And the other people from the marketing department, the business school, and I say, what do you guys think? Through the training that we have right here, $80,000. You think that's pretty good? How much money did you make when you got out of school? Did you make $80,000?
I thought you were going to turn to them and say, how much money do you want to make $80,000?
Back in my day, we made minimum wage was $2 an hour.
$2.25.
Yeah, whatever it was. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. So yeah, Blitz Metrics, and that's
can people still get in on that?
Yeah.
What do they do?
They just have to send a note to operations@blitzmetrics.com and say what they want. Like the thing we want people to start with is digital plumbing, which is getting all your tracking in place. And we sell that for $347, but we're teaching all these kids. So if you're okay with the idea that these kids are doing the work, now given that, their communication skills aren't as good, it's like having your hair cut by someone who's like a new stylist. Like, they're not fantastic, but they're learning. Okay. So if you're willing to deal with the fact that they're learning, you'll get it. And the other thing is that they know that my name's behind it. Okay.
Right.
So I'm still watching over it, but it doesn't mean that Dennis is going to be there all the time. Dennis is only watching over it. Doesn't mean you can call up Dennis anytime you want and have a free hour. That's not what this is, right? This is implementation. This is not consulting. This is implementing the things on the checklist of which you can inspect yourself to see what it is, right? So they can still get in on that, and I'll still honor the deal that we had in our session, however long ago that was. So $200 to get the plumbing, $200 to edit 9 of those videos in our 3x3 grid, and $200 to run a month of boosted posts. So it's $600, and that's creating jobs for someone else.
Yeah. So operations@blitzmetrics.com. You tell them what you need. Listen, from personal experience. So this isn't like, oftentimes we interview somebody and we debriefed and then that was it. But from personal experience for Lacey and I and our business, but also our clients, so many overwhelmingly positive reviews from working with the people that Blitz Metrics has trained. And Dennis is saying, like,
how good it actually works.
Yes, well,
the system delivers.
In Black Diamond Club, it is a noun or a verb. It's its own lexicon. When I'm on consulting calls, one of the things that I'll go through and I'll say, so how is your Dennis Yu strategy? Right?
Yeah,
that they know what that means. So what are we doing on the Dennis Yu strategy?
Can we talk about the Dennis Yu strategy, Lacey? Yeah, we can talk about
it. So it's a noun, and then you could Dennis Yu your videos, and it can become a verb. But these very things that he's talking about available to you at extremely low cost. And I will also say, saying they're kids or young adults, and by age they are, but I mean our experience, they're super professional. The communication. I don't notice any glitch in there. I think that everybody would be super happy. And here's the most important thing is that you're contributing to a greater cause. And where we're living right now in our times as a society, this is a time where people are really beginning to interconnect. They're beginning to feel for other people. They're beginning to understand, and that was so great, Dennis, you sharing your story, because people are beginning to understand. It's easy to look at you, or maybe somebody was in the club with you and you were doing bottle service and they were like, Dennis Yu is rich, but they didn't know the backstory. And now in society, we're living that time. And this is an opportunity for everybody. If you don't want to screw around with your own ads and your own video editing and, digital plumbing, is once you understand what that is, nobody wants to screw around with that, but everybody needs to have it right.
Yeah.
He's making it super affordable for everybody.
Ridiculously affordable. Yeah.
And it's not like a gimmick. This was one of the things too. I wanted to I wanted to conclude with this because I've seen some of your commentary on this. It irritates you, the gimmick people out there, like with the fake, like, look at me, look what I'm doing. And it's like they ran out there on the tarmac and they're posing in front of the private jet and before it like rolled off without them. Your stuff is not gimmicky, but you obviously, from watching your social media, you must have experienced a pretty large degree of that gimmick stuff, and it rubbed you wrong.
Yeah. You would not believe how many coaches and personal development sorts, I won't name them, but they're people you definitely have heard of. They approach us to have us run their ads and grow their brand, or come up to me even and say, hey, can you put me on stage? Because I know you get to speak at this place and this place. And or if you can't make it, can you like put me on stage instead? And you're right. That irritates me. And I think I told you there was one of them that I get this all the time, but there's one 2 months ago. And she said, I have this new course I'm launching on how you can make 7 figures. Like, how to be a millionaire. Can you run my ads? And I said, well, the price is $1 million. I'll run your ads, but the price is $1 million. For my fee is $1 million.
Right.
I can't afford that. I can maybe afford like a couple $100 right now. Well, then you need to go take the course. On how to, you take the course first, right? And all the people that want to teach you how to lose weight, but they're fat. And all the people that want to teach you how to speak, but they stutter and they've never spoken on stage themselves. They want to teach you the thing they've never done before. How dare you? So that pisses me off.
Yeah.
And especially in a crisis, taking advantage of people that don't know any better, like service professionals, small business owners where they don't have a lot of money, which is not a justification to rip off big companies either. Shouldn't rip off anybody because your reputation is going to follow you. It just makes me mad to the point where, I just want to put our training out there. It's like draining the swamp, pouring chlorine in, turning the lights on in the dark room, whatever the analogy is. I just want to put it out there so that way none of these charlatans can claim that they know how to do digital marketing or email marketing or website building or Facebook ads or whatever, because here is the checklist. And if you say you know how to do it, which of the items in the checklist have you done? And if you have not, then why not? Right? And, all these people, the reason why, Sean and Lacey, they're called gurus? They call themselves gurus, right? You know why?
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 Because they can't spell charlatan. Just put it out there, right? So a lot of people are selling their $2,000 course on the secrets of how to do Facebook ads, or the secrets on how to dominate on Google and be number one in the search engines. There is no secret. I'm a search engine engineer.
Yeah.
My job was to squish people that were trying to trick us. Right? I know all the tricks. Go ahead and try me, bro. I know your tricks. Don't think like I don't know. Right? This is what I've been doing for a living for a long time.
I love it.
So don't tell me this whole thing about how, because these motivational speakers are some of the most unmotivated people you'll ever see, except when they're on stage, they pump themselves up. I told you this other guy, I won't name him, but he's been going around saying, would you like to make 6 figures as an agency? I'm going to teach you how. And this is a guy who has tried for the last 3 years and hasn't been able to land a client or keep him for a month. And he's teaching other people how to build. And I'm like, dude, you've never done it before. Why are you comment yes below? The first 10 people, I will give you access to my secrets on how to be like, no. Are you struggling at work and would you like to have the lifestyle that you've always deserved so that you can travel whenever you want and not have to worry about bills? My name is Dennis Yu, and I'm going to teach you that. Stop right there.
Right.
And then what I say to them is I say, the best things in life are free, but the second best things are really expensive, aren't they?
That's great. I love it.
In conclusion, Dennis, you're coming out to be with us at summer camp, August 7th and 8th here in Indianapolis.
Indy.
I hope that everybody will listen to the podcast so that you understand the backstory, and then Dennis can pick it up from there. I think it's going to be an unbelievable experience. I know that so many people are looking forward to seeing you because they already did it once on that day. Eric Thomas is going to be there, but they know that Dennis Yu is going to steal the show. I think everybody's going to be super excited to not only see you but hang out with you.
And say thank you and shake your hand.
Oh, thank you guys.
Yeah.
I have some surprises for you. I'm not telling you. That's what makes it a surprise. But
Yay.
I'm working on a couple surprises I think you guys will really like. So I can't wait to see everybody at Indy.
Fantastic. Hey, Dennis, thank you so much. Oh, and you're hanging out there at Cocoon Water. Show us the bottle.
Yeah.
Because I want to say this too. This was something, again, just offline, KAQUN. You got to check this out. Lacey and I researched it after offline. Dennis gave us a tremendous explanation on it.
Go check it out.
I want to encourage everybody to go check it out. He's there in Las Vegas at an installation that does a lot of work with it. It's super hard to find, which also means that it's good, right?
Good.
Because it's not in your average Costco.
Yeah.
Yet.
Nope.
Yeah.
Love it.
Dennis, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you,
We will
Sean.
see you very soon. Best wishes to you and Blitz Metrics.
You guys are awesome.